Hello, everyone. This is Monsef Afker, and thank you so much for joining us in this new call of your divine uniqueness. As always, happy to have you with us, whether on the live call or on the replay. And also really excited that Vox Angelus Deus, which also is known by Phyllis Anne Douglass, is with us for the first time on the show. And yeah, I'm really glad that we could plan this call today. It's been a while. We were trying to do that, and really happy that we finally are having the call. So yeah, really excited about what she will be sharing with us, like the guidance, the message, and also the energy, the powerful energy um, that she embodies and also shares with everyone. And for those of you who are new to her, she is the conduit for the consciousness of Elohim and other highly evolved beings. And the subject today is awakening the divine architect within, reclaiming our role in creation. So yes, she will be talking about how can we shift from like the old ways of being, like, because it's been for a long time we've been trying just to survive, but the message, it will be more about how can we become the design the designer of our reality. And yeah, so it's more about letting go of the limitations that we believe in, and then stepping into our full potential and as conscious co-creator. So yeah, it will be a very powerful call, and also we'll have a Q&A as always. So for that, you can raise your hand by pressing react, then raise hand on Zoom if you want to ask your question. And if you are on the phone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. And also you can type your questions on the chat boxes on Zoom and on YouTube. And yeah, so with that, Vox, welcome to the show. Very happy to have you with us.
Hi, Monsef. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really happy to be here.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
So
So
yeah,
yeah,
let's start
let's
in the
start in the
beginning by
beginning by
talking about
talking about
yourself
yourself
and the work you
and the work
are
you are
offering.
offering. Well, I was asking Elohim, what are we talking about? And so they gave me the title Awakening the Divine Architect Within, because we are in that time frame of reference now. And with everything going on in the world and everything being kind of expedited and so forth, everything is unfolding very quickly. And ever since I was a little girl, and I know if some people have known me before, they've heard this, that I've been surrounded by angels since I was a little girl. I did not know that they were angels until I started Sunday school. And they've always been like my invisible playmate, when I was a little girl. They've always been my protectors, my guides, and my teachers. And I remember going to Sunday school and I got my first little Bible, and I was looking at the pictures, and an image of angels in there, and I remember yelling, "Oh my God!" I was so excited. They're like angels, and they're like, "What?" And I was I started to explain that these are my friends, these angels, and so when I was a little girl, they appeared to me in more of like a biblical format, meaning that they appeared just like you would see images of angels in the robes with the wings and the little halos and all of that. And gradually, as I got older and I was more attuned, my intuitive abilities began to expand, because I've always been able to see and speak with people that had passed over and so forth. And as my intuitive abilities grew, then they started to they didn't have to appear in a physical form in the way that they did. They started out more like light bodies, instead of bringing it, because it's a lot of energy for them to do that. And now it's just frequency based. I can recognize, I'm attuned to the different frequencies of specific angels, archangels that I do work with. And so that kind of pops into my mind. It's a little bit of telepathic communication, but it's also frequency based. So throughout my childhood, I was given, I should say, many different experiences very spiritual experiences with spiritual and energetic experiences. And they were a large spectrum from more very, very positive light bringers and then very negative ones. And I had asked later in life, I'm like, well, why did I have to experience that? And they said that I had to be aware of what all beings experienced, so that when I began to work with people, I would understand what was happening in their lives and where they were coming from, and I would be better suited then to assist them with the challenges that they were having. And when I was in my late teens, they started having me watch, like, I didn't even know why, like scary movies or movies about movies about psychics and things like that. And because I grew up in at that time it was a little tiny town, and it was Duluth, Minnesota, and there was none of this. I never mentioned to anybody what was going on in my life, and there was a lot going on in my life. So they could never understand why I liked to sleep with the light on, because when I slept with the light on, then the spirits didn't bother me as much. But if it was dark, they would always come. And I didn't know what to do. And I wasn't, it was interesting because I wasn't afraid of them either. I'd just be kind of looking like, okay, here comes another one. What do you want? Who are you? But I never, there was a part of me that understood what was happening. But there was a part of me that was also like, oh my goodness, what's going on? So I never said anything to anyone because there wasn't any, I grew up in a church. There was none of, obviously this was not a topic of discussion. This was not a topic of discussion with friends or family members or anything. But, gradually as I got older, I started to find different communities and so forth. I started to become more aware that there were people around me that were having the same type of circumstances and understandings in their life, and so that was all great. But one of the key things that I would always be asking, like, I was always just feeling like I'm not in the right place. I'm doing, I have a job, I'm working, but I don't know what it is. It just feels like I'm supposed to be doing something else in my life. And so they were always, Elohim was always guiding me to take like different classes or workshops, so that I would become more aware of what was going on out there. And it was really like preparatory education. But I was always alone until I was maybe in my 30s, and really, there was meetup, there were some different classes. I heard more about psychics and all of that. So it was a process. But I had always, since a little girl, I spoke light language. I didn't know what that was. My mother at the time was saying, oh, it's just a made-up language. It's just gobbledygook. But not understanding that I was actually communicating with non-physical beings. And there was a period of time where that stopped, right? And it eventually started to come back within, when I was doing healing work, I would start to speak light language and so forth again. And I remember a friend of mine wanted me to go up to Mount Shasta for this. It was a workshop of some sort. There were supposed to be 9 people there, and I knew something, intuitively something was happening because it was only the 2 of us. And she said, everybody, I thought about canceling because everybody else canceled. So it was just myself and my friend. And I thought, oh no, because I could feel this energy mounting. And at the time she said, well, I'm being guided to do a halo opening. And that when you've seen those old Baroque paintings and so forth, there's like the golden halo and the light around people. And so she was doing like halo activations. And we're kind of like, sure. And I was the first one on the table. And it was about 25 minutes later. I mean, I just was out. And I remember being in this area. It was all white, and I was talking to these angelic beings, and I was talking in light language, and a language that from that perspective I understood completely. And so 25 minutes later, I felt my body like shaking. She was like literally she was so scared because she couldn't bring me back. And so then she was grabbed my foot and she was shaking my foot. So when I came back, she goes, oh my goodness, I was having a challenge bringing you back into your body. And she asked me a question and I answered in light language. And I was like, oh. And I kept trying to speak English, and I could hear the English in my head, but it was coming out as light language. And I was incapable of speaking English for, it was about 8.5 hours after that. I kept trying to like speak, but light language would come out. And it got to be kind of funny because we're in a restaurant and I'm writing on a piece of paper and stuff. It was kind of ridiculous. And I was thinking, okay, God, I can't go home like this. My husband will never understand what this is. And so, about 8 hours later, my friend asked me something and I answered in English, and I thought, oh my goodness, I'm so happy. So ever since then, I was speaking light language. And in one of my energy healing sessions, Archangel Michael came in and said, you're now going to begin singing to your clients. And he meant like right then and there. So I kind of leaned down and I said, apparently I'm going to sing to you. And they were open to that. And I started to sing. So light language comes in many different forms. I mean, it's spoken, it can be vocalized as a form of sound, or more musical harmonics. It can be written, it can be signed, and drawn. Right? I do all of that. So those are the basics about how the work had progressed for me. But I was still feeling kind of lost. I was doing the things that my parents, my teachers told me to do. You got to get a job, you have to work for a living, and you have to make money, you have to be able to support yourself. And it was just kind of this whole thing. But I was always unhappy. I always felt like I just didn't belong where I was. I always felt like I wasn't supposed to be doing what I was doing. And so consequently, I was always seeking. I know there's an inner knowing. I can't tell you what it is, but there's an inner knowing. And the angels weren't telling me, really. And there's an inner knowing that I am meant, everybody is meant for greater things, right? And so finally, a lot of that started to come into my awareness more, with just my gifts started to awaken more. And I signed up for some energy healing classes and workshops and things. And when we do that, it is more about, it's giving you a key to unlock a door. It's creating an opening for your own self-realization and your own spiritual evolution, because it's just awakening something within you. It's revealing something within you to begin to open you up progressively through an evolutionary process to bring your gifts on board and to begin to utilize those gifts for yourself, but then also begin to use and share those gifts for the rest of humanity. And so that's really what everyone is here to do. So, gradually I kind of ended up where I'm at. And as I got older and more into the work I was doing, the more information came forward about who and what I am and my mission here in this lifetime, because I began to walk that path. And the more that you began to walk the path that you came here to walk and do what it is that you're meant to do, then the more guidance you began to receive that's in alignment with that, to help you evolve, to help you carry you forward. And so that kind of brings me more to the topic of awakening to you as being a divine architect. This is a free will planet, yes. But we also come in here, our soul comes in here with a mission, a soul contract, if you want to call it that, as to what it is that we desire to experience and what it is we desire to accomplish. And also, from that perspective, who it is we desire to accomplish it with, because there's a number of souls that want to accomplish something that's in alignment with what it is that we are coming into this incarnation to do. And so they'll say, well, I agree to be your mother, or I agree to be the friend that comes forward, or whatever it is, to assist you and guide you, because I need that assistance and guidance as well. So we come in as soul groups. And throughout my life, now I have met more and more people that have come that from my soul group, which is kind of really interesting that we've kind of come together. But from an intuitive standpoint, a lot of people are now recognizing, I know you, either from a past life, from a past incarnation, or on a soul level. Like we're members of the same soul group, and we began to kind of work together in that sense. So I had come to understand something that the angels have been telling me since I was a little girl, that I really didn't want to believe, but I am an angel in physical form. I'm a seraph. I'm a seraphim. I did agree to come into this physical form with a very specific mission. And so that mission is underway now. I am fulfilling that mission. And so from an evolutionary process, there are a lot of different information that's coming in for me. There's a lot of skills that are coming in as well from my seraph nature. And so that's really been a beautiful thing, because when you began to accept the truth of who it is that you are as a divine individuation of God within physical form, having a physical experience, expressing yourself within the physical world, to experience being alive in this form, to experience what it means, but also beings now are coming in with a very specific task of finding a counterbalance. I'm losing the word, but not living to hold that divine will, but the divine will is to become who it is we're meant to become and who it is we truly are. So we have to accept and acknowledge at some point that we are God in physical form, that we're not just a human being living out there's an impermanence to us anyway, irregardless, but there's something else beyond that. And so when we talk about embodiment, it's about embodying your full soul essence into this physical form that you may express as your God self throughout the remainder of your life. This is how we are here to begin evolving and changing our world and how we express ourselves in it. And the Elohim calls this the Christing. From a religious standpoint, we look more so the Christing, we look at like Jesus, life, right? And Jesus himself stated, you're just like me. I mean, you can do exactly what it is that I do. And that is true. That is part of the Christing. So when they've spoken of the second coming of Christ, the second coming of Christ is from within each and every one of us. It is our own Christing. It is our own awakening as the Christed, fully embodied soul. Okay. And then when we are fully embodied, we are then some people call it homo luminous, or a luminous being, right? Or we gain like our garment of light, which is what Jesus of Nazareth, or whomever you want to call them, different names, right? Wore a garment of light. Well, we each have a garment of light when we become fully awakened, when we become fully embodied. And so when we look at life from the perspective of our true and divine nature, we are creators. And we are awakening as the divine architects of our life, and that comes from within us. We don't have to look to an external force of any sort or anyone else to create our lives, because we can create in an instant. But in order to really be the divine architects of our lives as we truly are, we have to let go of everything that's not in alignment with that. There are old constructs, there are old patterns. We grew up under these old patriarchal paradigms that taught us to be a specific way, taught us that we couldn't do certain things, diminished us, as it were, diminished the truth of who we are. And so it's not it has been an easy task for me. It's not necessarily an easy task to let go of a way of being that you've been so used to, because in order to evolve beyond the limitations of humans, of humanity, there's a lot of discomfort that comes with that. It is not comfortable to change. It's not comfortable to evolve. People don't want to change, right? Because they just become used to doing and being as they are. And it's uncomfortable to kind of go into the unknown, because when we change, there is an unknown aspect to us, to that. And so we're kind of like, no, I'm comfortable where I'm at. But in order to really evolve and change, we can't stay within that state of comfort. We can't stay in that comfortable spot, because it's beautiful on the other side. If you envision like a bridge where you're coming from, there's all of this that you are undertaking. You're clearing away all of the old stuff that's not in alignment. And as you cross that bridge and you're clearing away all that is not in alignment with the truth of who you are, you come off the bridge bright and shiny, and life begins to change rapidly and evolve. And also we get more and more help as when we step onto that path, we gain more and more help from non-physical beings, from the angels, from Elohim, and from galactic presences, whomever, are from our ancestors, from our family members, people that we know that have crossed over. We get help from the other side as soon as we become accepting of our truth, our true nature of being, and when we begin to surrender. We have to let go, and we begin to surrender. So when you come to the other side of that bridge, as it were, or when you choose to step through the doorway, you understand yourself as a creator. And it's like, I don't actually have to experience this now. I can create something new and different quite easily just by changing my mind, just by changing my vibration in some way, shape, or form, which usually comes through your intention. It's like, I don't want this anymore. I want that. And then you utilize your intention, and you begin to create from within you your imagination, your curiosity, and your excitement. And you follow your excitement as you move forward, because your excitement is part of an intuitive force, a heartfelt force that is telling you that you see over there, that which you desire, it's yours for the taking. That is where you're supposed to be. That is when we begin to really open up to our mission here in this physical form. When we begin to open up to that. Because we are here to create. We are here to be creators within every aspect of our lives. So we are architects. And once we decide that we can create our lives, we begin to understand as a collective, we can change and recreate the world as it is through our intention and through our desires. I've been talking for a long time.
Thank you. And would you mind muting yourself, because there is the echo? Oh. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for sharing your story, and because I think it's very inspiring, because it started with resistance, and then you shift to more like walking your your blueprints and embodying your gifts. And this is something that can inspire all of us. And also when you talked about our role as creators, it was really inspiring. And I really liked when you talked about the comfort zone, because many times the resistance we have is just because we were used to the old ways of being. But if we are more, like, a little more open to new things, new way of creation, like the other side, it can be very, very beautiful, like you said. And so yeah, maybe my question would be, like, in the time of resistance, how can we recognize whether it's trauma, or is it just for us we don't want to try something new, or move out of our comfort zone?
Okay. Good. You know, it's interesting. The other day, I was talking to a client, and Elohim just spurred out this statement. Uh, this client was going to be teaching she was holding a retreat for women, and they said, okay, well, what are you going to be doing at the retreat? And one of the things she said was, I am going to help women heal their wounds, was the statement, heal their wounds. And Elohim immediately busted in and said, dear ones, you are not in any way, shape, or form wounded. You are just experienced. So they're always stating, you come into this lifetime to experience, not be defined by those experiences. So our first experience in physical form is our birth, and then it's experience after experience after experience after experience until our final experience of so-called death, when we make our transition from physical form, back from whence we came. And when we thought, we thought that statement was profound, because a lot of people believe I can't do something, or I can't help other people heal until I heal myself. And they start calling themselves a wounded healer, but they're not really wounded, right? Nobody needs to be healed. You are a force of God within this physical form. You are whole, healthy, and complete. You have experienced something, but you don't need to keep experiencing it, right? And so it's really about having the mindset and the desire to create a new experience. It's like, I've had some awful experiences in my life, but I don't carry them with me, because I'm more like, well, that stunk. Yeah, I think I'm going to create a new experience. And so, I start using my intention, because from everything we've experienced in our life, it's a learning, it's a teaching moment. So when you have a bad experience, you can kind of look back and say, wow, okay, there's always light in everything that happens. And sometimes you got to look hard, but it's kind of like, or you can make something up. It's kind of like, where was the light in that situation? What's my takeaway, from that experience? What did I learn? And you'll find when you think about it, you probably learned a lot. And one of the things might have just been, I'll never do that again. But you have the opportunity, but you need the understanding that there's always light at the end of a tunnel. There's always light within a dark room. There's always light within a dark circumstance. And through your intention and your desires, you can begin to expand that light, even if it's just simply, I want something other than what it is I'm experiencing now. Because when we ask that, our higher self is more on board with that too, right? It's like, yes, she wants to start changing her vibration. She wants to start bringing in a higher frequency, right? And when you can make that statement, you begin to have more and more assistance and guidance that comes through just by that statement. And so then there's more divine inspirations. Sometimes there's more divine intervention if you need it, right? It's like, okay, we're here to help you. You get more guidance because we understand you are ready because you have just stated you're ready. A lot of people just don't speak their truth. They don't speak out loud. They don't ask for help, right? They just are stuck in something and they kind of wallow in it and they don't share it with people. But when you begin to share with people that will listen and hear you, when you begin to share with that higher guidance, God, your guides, whatever, wherever you're at, right? Just if you can, even if you don't believe, if you just begin to share, okay, whoever, whatever is out there, right? I can't deal with this any longer and I want to change my life. They are listening and they will step forward. But like anything else, they have to have your permission, and that's giving permission because you're asking for help. Because we are in a free will world, right? They have to have your permission to come in and assist and guide you. But as long as you give that permission, then they will do so. That is what they are there for. And your higher self, your I am presence, your soul presence will come forward more readily with that as well. So a lot of people believe that, I don't even know how to word this. Everyone has trauma of some sort in their lives, good, bad, and ugly, right? But it was an experience. It doesn't mean that you have to, a lot of people identify with their past. They identify with their experiences. They identify with the circumstances, the trauma, and so forth that has happened in their life. But we're not meant to identify with it. We're not meant to become our experiences. We're not even meant to carry our experiences from one experience to the next. But as human beings, that's what we've learned. We've learned that everything that we experience, who we are, our family and so forth, it identifies us as this person. But you have to understand from the standpoint of your true and divine nature, you are wholly unidentifiable, right? And when we begin to really acknowledge that, more of that understanding will begin to come forward. I'm unidentifiable, right? And so there was a period of my life where I'm like, okay, then that means I don't have to be that, right? I don't have to hold on to that, right? And that is truth, right? You don't have to be that. You don't have to hold on to that. You just have to decide what you want instead of that. And then you allow yourself to become whatever that new thing is. That's your new experience. But we have to state to ourselves, I no longer desire to be that. I will no longer desire to be that. I desire this for my life. And you'll find that you'll begin to step into that and things will begin to change. But we have to take a step towards whatever is different or opposite of what it is we don't want in our lives. We begin creating. So if you are working in a job that you hate, right, a lot of people are, you begin to think of it as a means to an end. It's support for you in your process of becoming something else. And then you start to research other forms of employment, right? You start to research other companies that are doing things that are more vibrationally in alignment or that you think would be cool, that you desire to do. And you'll find that things begin to shift and a new job, new opportunities will begin to come in. But it is really through our intentions and our desire to experience something that comes to play. I hope that answered your question. And one of the things that Elohim wants me to mention is everybody comes into this life with gifts that they themselves bring in that are particular to them. You may think that they are similar to another individual. Okay, I work with light language, right? I call it alchemical light language. I work with alchemy. There are millions of people out there that talk, speak light language, use it in their work in many different ways. Are we similar? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But you are the only one that can do what it is that you do in the way that you do it. And you came into this lifetime to do exactly that. So as your gifts and your desire, as your gifts come forward, and those usually are desires or things that you enjoy doing, things that are prevalent in your life that you keep doing, those are your gifts. And so we are here to expand those gifts, because those gifts that you came in with are keys that have been given or seated within you, first and foremost for your own awakening within physical form. You began to use those gifts for self. Then they evolve, and you are to begin to utilize those gifts in the way that you do whatever it is to assist others to awaken, evolve, and go through their own processes of growth and ascendancy.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Vox. And yeah, I really love what you shared. It was quite powerful, especially when you mentioned that we are not meant to be identified with the experiences that we are having, and having that awareness and that understanding, like seeing experiences or traumas for what they are, it really helps us to shift and creates a transformation within us. And then it creates like, it's not like detachments, but whenever we feel like negative, maybe not negative, like dense emotions or energy, we are approaching it in a different way because we know what it is. It's not like we get stuck in it. And I feel what you shared, it's really, really helpful. So thank you. Thank you very much for sharing that. Vivian also wrote, wonderfully articulated. And would you like to share more about the subject, or do we take questions from the audience?
We can take some questions, because that may also begin to expand a little bit about what I'm talking about. Yeah.
All right. So Linda, can you please unmute yourself?
Hi, Phyllis. I absolutely adore your voice. I love being with you. I'm just thrilled and honored that I get a chance to talk to you today. I'd like to know, because I kind of have an idea of some of my gifts, but I don't know like a lot of them. Do the Elohim have a indication of where I should pursue more of my energies going forward?
Okay, this is an interesting thing because everyone always asks me that, and you already know. So this is what I'm going to tell you.
You're funny. Sorry, Phyllis.
Everybody has a healing gift.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what it is you're doing, it's healing. So one of the things is, when we're talking about, you have your own personal gifts that you've brought into this lifetime, you intuitively know what they are, what this is. Okay, let me show you. They show up in your life because you keep doing them. They show up in your life because you maintain an interest in it, whatever it is. So I've always sung all of my life, and of course that evolved into my alchemical light language transmissions and so forth that I do. But I've sung since I was a little girl. I've always been prone to busting out into song. Right. So, and that was always healing to me, because that's how I would self-soothe. I would sing, I would hum. Okay. And so that's a healing gift, right? That's a healing gift that I began to utilize for myself, that I now share with others. So you typically gravitate towards those things that you've been given as gifts. They keep showing up in your life. You're good at them, and they excite you. You're excited about them. So I think it's Bashar, a guy in the channels, who's always saying, and Elohim had told me this earlier on, follow your excitement. And he's always saying, follow your excitement.
Yep, he
Because
is.
when you follow your excitement, that's what's pulling you along to that which is in alignment with the truth of who you are and the truth of your gifts, and everything will begin to open up and evolve. Right. And so the most that they will tell you is you have a healing gift. So for you, you start to look inward as what is my form of healing? Do I align with like energetic healing work? Do I do Reiki or any other form of energy healing? Do I love music? Do I love talking with people? Is there a beautiful outcome when I have a conversation with someone? Are people drawn to speak with me? And I seem to unknowingly saw, yes, and that's you, but are people drawn to speak with me and I unknowingly help them through a challenge that they have, right? So there's something about your voice. There's something about speaking and talking with others. I will share that much with you, right?
Thank you.
So really, this is really for everyone that your gifts are readily apparent and in front of you in your lifetime. You really have to pay attention and look and follow your desires, right? Follow your excitement, and you can't go wrong there.
Thank you very much, Phyllis.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you, Mansaf.
Yeah. Thank you, Linda. Much love.
Much
And
love.
yeah. And yeah, thank you, Vox, for the guidance. It was very inspiring. And we have a question from Renee. I am drawn to spirit work, but I am new to it. Am I unintentionally attracting negative experiences, spirits, because of my mindset? How do I decipher between positive and negative spirit experiences?
As I smile. I'm like surrounded by members of the Elohim. And they're smiling. Okay, this is a whole topic. Okay, so I don't even know how to approach it. Okay, there are positive and negative spiritual experiences. And we don't draw those experiences to us by being too open or to this or to that. We draw those experiences to us through fear. If you fear something, then you will receive more of what it is that you fear. So a lot of people have heard many negative things, negative spirits, demons, whatever it is. I have experienced those in my life, even though I was always protected and it was purposeful, which I'm kind of grumpy about now. But anyway, but I've experienced all of that. But Elohim was with me and they protected me. It was like, you need to experience this. And one of the reasons, even as I got older, was in the negative experience came this solidification of the understanding that even from a little kid, like, you can't, you're mean, and I did that when I was a little kid. But that held force, that held power, and that dismissed a lot of negativity by just saying, go away, you're bad, when I was a little kid. And that was the beginning of my claiming my power, believe it or not. But as I got older, it was never about closing myself off. That's all fear-based, because remember, we are just like Jesus was. And one of the things that Elohim said to me several years ago, I was questioning that about the need for protection and stuff, because it just felt off. There's all these modes and methods of protecting yourself. And Elohim came forward and asked me this question. They were like, when Jesus entered the leper colony, did he don a hazmat suit, goggles, gloves, a rebreather mask, and booties? Right? And I kind of laughed at that. I'm like, no. They didn't even exist then, but yeah, I said, well, no. And they just said, exactly. So the power of any mode of protection comes through your acceptance that you are so much more than this, that you are a God force in physical form. You don't need protection. Your very light and your very radiance of that light is all that is needed. And a lot of people say, am I drawing this negativity? Well, honestly, yes, you are, because you fear it. And so if you fear that there's negativity out there that is being drawn to you, then yes, you need to utilize some form of protection, some protective measure, until that's no longer true for you, until you're able to maintain and believe in a higher understanding or expression of who it is that you are, right? Negativity does exist out there. So I'm going to tell you a brief story. Maybe that they're wanting me to tell you this story. So I was in a Stargate meditation several years now back, and Jesus came to me and said, I am here to teach you how to be radiant. And I was like, huh? Okay, right. So he said, all right. And he said, that this, so that I am radiant, and he's going to teach me how to be radiant. And so he said, okay, take a breath, and all you do is this. And I felt that I was bowled over with this light, this energy, this force. And I was like, whoa. And he goes, okay, now you do it. I had no clue where to even begin that. So I'm just like, and so this is what I said to Jesus. Literally, it haunts me to this day. I said, I think my light is constipated. And he laughed and he said, no, to it. He said, take a breath in. And he goes, make a sound. He said, take a breath in, into the heart, and just go. And he made that sound. And I just felt myself expand. And I was, okay. So I did that. I just relaxed. I took a breath in, dropped into my heart, and I went, and I expanded. He's like, yes. So I held on to that. Not sure how it was you. I held on to that. And I was in a class. It was more of a magical class. Scared the heck out of me, but Elohim told me to go. And in order to graduate, we had to go outside, and he said, I'm going to draw these white circles. You're going to stand in the circle. I'm going to call in negative entities. I'm teaching you. He taught us a movement and a sound that would dispel the negative entity. So I was the first in my little white circle. I was scared to death. I said, I don't know what to do, because none of it resonated with me. And Archangel Michael came in and said, be who it is that you are. That was it. And I was like, what does that mean? So I'm standing there. I'm like, okay, I'm going to say some light language, and I'm going to do what Jesus said. And I just went, and I felt this energy go out. And then I was standing there, and I heard all these other people yelling this word and doing this action. And my teacher was quite a ways away, and they were walking, and he and his assistant stopped and looked at me, and they stared for the longest time, and he shook his head, and then he kept walking. I didn't know what that was about. So when we got inside, he said, I want to hear everybody's experience with this, right? And I raised my hand, and the first thing that popped out of my mouth from the old paradigm was, I think I did something wrong, because I didn't have to express the word or the action. There were no negative entities came to me. He looks at me, and he said, Phyllis, he said, you did everything right. He said, you expanded your sphere of light so wide that nothing could get in, first of all, and nothing could get to the people that were within your sphere. And a lot of people laughingly said, yeah, thanks, Phyllis. I got it. But I realized at that time unknowingly how powerful we are, and how that simple action can express my own force of light So much so that that is my barrier from anything that is not scary, or I'm not going to say that. It is a protective barrier from anything that is of a lower vibration. That is the only thing that you really have to recognize. Lower vibration. You do not need to identify those lower vibrations. It is just simply everything is vibration. Everything is energy, frequency, vibration, right? And there are higher vibrations and there are lower vibrations. So what you're speaking of after this whole long explanation is a fear of lower vibrations. And as long as you understand and stand in your own light, and you accept your own your own true nature, your own true and divine nature, you don't need the protection. And the more you understand that you don't need the protection, the more beautiful and expansive your light becomes. Okay? So a lot of that is also trust, right? So that is my share on that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Vox and Tina Sherrod's loving this conversation and the loving information. What you are sharing has resonated and validates what I have been writing and sharing with others. Yeah, she has to go, and she will listen to the replay. And Renee wrote, that completely resonates with me. Thank you so much. Beautiful. And also we have some feedback on YouTube. Maria, beautifully said. Amen. Vanessa, wonderful explanation. Regina, thank you. This was very insightful. And yeah, Dorvan, I feel it, and more. So yeah, beautiful. We will take more questions in after a couple of minutes. Just for now, I would love if you can tell us about the program you are offering. So I invite everyone to follow with us on the page, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Vox, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Vox, VOX. Or you can click on the special offer button, which is on the live events page, later on the replay page, the link also on YouTube video description, and the chat boxes on Zoom and on YouTube. So we have two parts of the program. The first one is the Holy Wholeness Alchemical Light Language Transmission and Alchemy Symbol Package. And the second one is Soul Anointing Activation and Energetic Ignition of the Light Body and Kundalini Awakening, which will happen on June 28th, and there will be a replay as well. So yeah, Vox, I would love if you can tell us about this program.
I just have one key thing to say about it, really. It is the holy wholeness, it's a transmission, it's an activation, which begins to assist you in differentiating truth from non-truth within your life, and allowing you to become open and to reveal the truth of who you are. So it helps you as you're listening to it and utilizing the symbol. You can hang the symbol in your home and spaces that you frequent. You can put one on your bedside table. If you have an altar, you can put one on your altar or in a meditation or healing space or what have you, because it's imbuing and elevating your space. But the transmission is basically there to open you up to the truth of who you are. I'm going to keep it kind of simple. It helps you to recognize and be discerning, to let go of those things that are no longer in alignment, right? So that you become an open vessel and you begin to bring in and magnetize those things that are in alignment with your higher vibration, because you're going to begin to evolve, and your vibration, your frequency is going to begin to elevate. So when that happens within this present moment in time, the future, which is unlimited potentiality, doesn't exist yet. It's unlimited potentiality. So you begin to magnify those things from the future into the present moment that you desire, right? And I always tell people, they're like, I just don't know what I'm going to do in the future and all of that. And I'm like, well, you shouldn't be focusing on what you're going to do in the future. You have to focus on being here now in this present moment. This is all you have. The past does not exist. It's complete. So you are who you are in this present moment in the future unless you choose to create a change. And that change can be this big or that change can be this big, right? There just has to be a little bit of a change because you began to change your frequency, you began to elevate your frequency. And so thusly your future begins to change because you are evolving now. So we always have to really focus in on this present moment. And so that is what the Holy Wholeness Alchemical Light language transmission does. It begins to create, well, it brings you into, there we go, it brings you into a state of wholeness with and in alignment with your I am presence, that higher aspect of you, which is what is gradually being embodied within the physical form. Okay. The soul anointing activation is an ignition of the light body and the kundalini. So that's pretty self-explanatory. It's about opening up, and as you open up, it begins to reveal things that begin to come forward for you. So it is really a clearing process for you. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Vox, for offering these two activations. And many times, like when we want to create a shift in our life, we focus more on the physical reality, what is out there, and we forget our own frequency. And I really love that you are focusing on that, activating that frequency from which we want to create the experience or the path or the life that we desire. And yeah, from there we can really activate our gifts and express them. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing your work, your support to our audience. And yeah, so again, everyone, I invite you to sign up for this program, and the link again is yourdivineuniqueness.com/Vox, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Vox, VOX. And also the link is, you can click on the special offer button, which is on the live events page or the replay page. And also the link on YouTube video description and the chat boxes on Zoom and YouTube. And yeah, so Linda Schertz, will Phyllis bless us with a channeled song and love from the Elohim?
I don't, I'm actually not feeling very well today. And then we couldn't get the setup that I usually use. And the more that I'm talking, the less I can talk. I'm losing my voice. So I don't think that I will do a transmission today. Not a sung transmission. Let me see what they would like to do here. They will do there's some heavy weighted hearts, so I will do more of a spoken light language. Just a short little clearing activation for the heart. Perché petire to sukuira mayron dunder. Ba ashake e bakura spachatere gnimini natatere katut. Sadia meki tundrotor, bakasai kakatador, nebekun. Mai ete kutu sukure peshatere che sandire ura kacendrite. Sa dai go ora. Sa baikere mana makutu tundr spisukura nebeka ora kabashutun. En negerebe de kuchukura maya natalaire. Saka espu kuchun, epigare manaya tatiere kasura baga igor, and diere besitun, begayet bakatutu trukuran jatiere, sedia mayana nakatiere, da ba okura beshikatutun. E bekere turas tekenum, mbogo, jesiare ketire, sata kere patukuya maya tukura, kopoyer patiere indiere, sitiana mayere kukun, and bukuya pajatia. Okay. So take a deep breath and envision breathing through the heart and exhaling through the heart. And do that one more time. And that brings us into heart coherence. Good. All right.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Vox.
Do we have time for more questions, or
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
sure what
yeah,
time
we
it is.
still have
Okay.
time. Let's see. So on YouTube, and there was a question from Regina. Where it is? Yeah. Do the Elohim have a message for me and my life purpose?
Metatron is here, and he's stating, have we not just given that for each and every one of you? They're going to leave it at that. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's very interesting. People ask about do they have something personal to kind of say? They do, and it's along the lines of keep doing what it is that you're doing, right? But kind of what I've talked about throughout this, and of course you'll have the replay so you can listen to it again. You already know, dear one. And so when people continue to ask, this is what okay, when people continue to ask this question of people outside of themselves, they keep seeking an external validation for what it is that we already know. And if we go inward and begin to validate ourselves with things that start to happen in our lives, be it divine inspirations, but what have you, intuitive hits that come in, we're meant to be able to self-validate, because when we continue to seek validation from people outside of ourselves, I could tell you something, right? I've already stated that everybody is an energy healer. So it is really about understanding what your healing force is. Is it through energy? It is all through energy, but is it hands-on? Is it remote? Is it through my voice? Am I speaking? Am I singing? Am I speaking light language? Right? Um, I mean, even people, physicians, therapists of all sorts, they're also healers. They're also on a divine path. And so every divine path is going to look different, first of all. And so what we are being asked to do is to really embody that higher expression of self and allow it to express within our lives, within everything that we do. So if you're a doctor, if you're a lawyer, if you whatever you are, if you're a school teacher, then your I am presence, your divine essence is going to begin expressing itself through your teaching. You're going to be a totally different elevated teacher. You're going to be a totally different elevated lawyer. You're going to be a totally different elevated doctor, right? Because you are going to be communing with your I am presence that is part of the divine, and you are going to have a whole broader base of knowledge and expression to bring through this physical form to share with your patients, your students, and your clients. So it's not gonna look any specific way. It's going to look how it looks for you, right? So follow your excitement, because you already know why you're here. And ask yourself, why am I here, right? We have to stop disempowering ourselves and diminishing ourselves by always feeling not necessarily you, not speaking necessarily of you, but many people just need to be reminded how powerful they are. You are magnificent. You are such a magnificent, powerful being, a God force expressing through your physical body. And yet often we just don't trust that, and we choose not to fully believe that, or we choose to question that, and in that we disempower ourselves. We diminish who it is that we are and what it is we do, because we ask outside, am I doing it okay? Am I doing the right thing? Is there something else I should be doing, right? What should I be doing? Follow your excitement. Pay attention in your life, as I stated earlier, with what those things are that draw you in, what those things are that excite you and that make your heart sing, right? That you want to do more of. Those things are in direct alignment with the truth of who you are and the gifts that you brought into the world. So I will leave that as my answer.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much, Vox. And Regina wrote, thank you for the message, Metatron and Vox. I felt my energy rising. Beautiful. So let's see. We have Natasha. Can you please unmute yourself?
Hello. Hi. I actually was identifying with a heart healing due to heavy heart, probably from identifying with experiences and just being on the healing path, but not being able to do it the way that I thought, like with different modalities. So I was just wondering if there was any guidance for that, because I thought that I was following what excited me. I thought that it was frequency and energy healing. Although I'm also excited by color, so I was just wondering if there's any guidance.
Yes. So it's funny. I'm sorry. In my own life, I have probably taken every course, every modality, every technique known to man. I would say I've spent thousands of dollars as a seeker, drawn to these different things, and much of it I never really needed to do, and I kind of bucked the system because they're like, you really don't need to do that. You need to do this, and I'm like, no, but I'm interested. I want to do it. So, but okay, so this is what I'm going to say. This is what I had to learn thousands of dollars later. I don't do any of that, right? And so what Elohim explained to me is that you are going to be drawn to different healing modalities, working with sound, energy, frequency. You're going to be trained. You're going to be drawn to get certified in this or that. But one of the things that we have to understand is this comes down to the we're not to repeat an experience type of thing. So when you take, what should I pick on? I'm just gonna say Reiki because that's what popped into my head.
That always
So
comes up with me.
so let's say you became a Reiki master. You went through level 1, level 2, how many ever levels you became a Reiki master. I did that, right?
Yeah.
And so now you're and so you do that. You don't feel connected with it, but you still do it because you trained in it and you feel trapped in it. Okay. What happens is that when we study a modality, we are studying something that someone else brought in for them the majority of time, right? It works for them, right? So they teach you how it works for them. But the key to it is that you want to think of it more as a key for you to begin to evolve. So you take Reiki, you learn how to activate your hands, you learn something about working with energy, but you don't want to be trapped in a Reiki box. You don't want to be trapped in any type of healing box, because each time you do, they said every time you do a training, you're going to come away with some gems. You're going to come away with those things that you resonate with deeply, and you're just going to put them in your etheric tool bag, right? And you're going to let everything else go, because what the parts of it that you're resonating with are the parts that are in full and complete alignment with the gifts that you brought in to the world. And so a lot of people have a fear of, when I took Reiki 1 um, years and years ago. And she taught it and we got activated, and she goes, okay, go ahead, play with it. You learned a couple symbols, and then you're going to come back to Reiki 2 next week, whenever it was, right? So I went home and I was like, ooh, and I'm playing with energy, right? Because all I needed to do was to have someone come forward, activate my hands, and give me permission to start playing with energy, right? I didn't need to do all that. So I was experiencing all of this stuff. It was quite magnificent. I was in awe. So I go back to Reiki level 2 and she asked a question. She said, so what did you guys experience with Reiki 1? And so I'm like, I start talking about all this stuff. And she looks at me like, and she says, you're not supposed to be doing all of that. She kind of shut me down for a little bit, but she actually told me, you're not supposed to be doing all of that. You shouldn't be experiencing those things. This is Reiki. I gave you Reiki 1. You're not supposed to be doing anything outside of that. That's the way it came off. And I was like, oh, wow. And it shut me down for a little bit. So I went ahead, I did the Reiki 2. Same thing happened. I went off and started doing stuff, and I did complete everything. But what I realized was you use what you've learned as a tool to begin to evolve and express the gifts that you came into this lifetime with. And you were guided to say Reiki or whatever else very specifically because it had something to share with you that's in resonance with the truth of who you are and the gifts that you brought in. And it's going to wake you up. It's going to reveal something within you. It's going to give you the key to a doorway that you need to walk through. So that's what I would leave you with. Yes, you've done these trainings, but what is it trying to teach you? What is the evolution of, I apologize, I forgot your name, but what is the evolution of that training that's meant for you? And I'll leave you with that. Does that make sense?
Yes, actually, it really does. It was for self-healing. But I kept being guided to do certain ones, and it's so funny with Reiki, I've been attuned like 4 or 5 times by different teachers. But it was for self-healing, but then I thought that I could help others, but whenever I offer, it's like there's a block there. So it just
Well, that's your first clue.
okay.
It's not in alignment with the gifts you have to share with the world.
Okay, then that makes sense.
Yeah, so just
Okay.
play with it and see what it holds for you, because it will begin to, whatever that you've learned right in the past, it will begin to express differently through you if you begin to look at it with childlike wonder and curiosity.
Okay. Thank you very much. That makes sense.
You're welcome.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Natasha. And also thank you, Vox, for the guidance. And we have a question from Vivian. Going through a divorce, how do I balance letting go of old fear patterns of financing my life and standing up for myself, yet focus on love for future relationship with this man, the father of my children?
I'm sitting here thinking, how do I answer this one, guys? First thing you need to acknowledge is that I am shifting, I am transitioning from one experience to the next experience. And this is what I want that next experience to be like. I want, in my next experience, I desire to have a good relationship with the father of my children for the benefit of my children, right? And technically it's for the benefit of yourself too. I guess you don't have that straight, but put it into a plan and put it out with intention that that's what you desire. Because remember, you are the creator, and you don't want to create from fear. You don't want to create from past. You don't want to create from the negative energies and so forth. We're not creating we don't have to create from those, right? We have to create from the present moment and what it is that is a heartfelt desire. So we put that intention out there. So just really write it out if you need to. Read it, state it. This is what I desire. I desire a good relationship with the father of my children, so that so that it's good for our family all the way around, right? I desire this, I desire that, I desire a future loving relationship. So one of the things is you can put that out there, but you yourself are evolving And so you want to stay in this moment in time so that you can grow and evolve and create change. You don't want to start looking into the future. You don't want to start looking at looking towards a future partner, love interest in the future. You want to stay in this present moment because you are creating your future here and now. So allow yourself grace and allow yourself to shift through the divorce. It's a transition from this experience to this experience. You're walking across a bridge, and as you're walking across that bridge, be in the present moment and state your desires as to what it is that you want to experience from this point forward in your life. And then you're taking that next step and you're walking right into it, right? And so when you begin to elevate your vibration towards that, then everyone is affected around you, first of all. Even the soon-to-be ex-husband, right, is affected by that. And so you are just creating a new vibration to be an umbrella over a new circumstance. Okay, so that's what I have to share.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Vox. And also, thank you, Vivian, for your question. We would love to hear your feedback. You can type it on the chat. And yeah, we have time for one more question. We have a phone caller, the phone number ending with 797. Can you please unmute yourself?
Hello.
Hello, what is your name?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear
I'm
you.
Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer.
Jennifer from New Zealand. Hi. I have a two-part question. Thank you, Vox, for answering everyone's question before me because it's pretty much done it for me as well. But I've done your transmissions for about 8 months now, so totally believe in what you're offering and it works. But I've always been looking for like the magic pill, like the true me unveiled, so to speak. That was the one thing. Standing in your full power, like. And the other question was, since I have already bought through other talk shows, most of your transmissions you've had on offer, I've actually got the Holy Wholeness a couple of months ago, but I'm after the soul ignition Kundalini part of it, but it's not separated out on Monsief's special offer. Thank you.
Yeah, you can go to my website. I think the information is on there. If you go to my website, you can actually sign up for that as all. You can sign up for that separately.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't hear you very well, and I don't know if Monsteph got that, but I don't really know what your question is.
Oh, I was saying that I've done most of your transmissions through various talk shows like John Burgess and New Earth One, is it? And I am wondering, like, the magic pill, where am I? I'm waiting to be unveiled. Like, you've talked about everyone's gifts and everything. I get all that, how to identify that. But, to be standing in your full power. Do you understand that question?
Okay, so I think I'm understanding. So we have to realize that everything is a process. And so depending on what paradigm you grew under, depending on your beliefs, depending on your life circumstances up to this point, some processes can move faster than others. And some people have more things within their life that are kind of blocking them a bit, that they're things that they're holding on to, past experiences. So often we hold on to past experiences, we hold on to past emotions. And so what I'm feeling from you energetically and physically are there are things that are keeping you from moving forward. And
Yes.
we have to look at, a lot of the transmissions and things, they do have a very specific purpose, and you can do them more than once with intention. So I would look more towards a private session, not necessarily with me, but it could be with me. But I would look more so for a private session with someone so that they can kind of look at you, focus in on you individually. Part of what I am seeing in your energy is a great deal of fear, and fear can come from a number of different things. It could be from a past life, it can be from ancestors and what have you. But you have a fear of letting go of something. So that is a fear of change. That's a fear of actually physically stepping into that shift. There's something that's keeping you mired. So I would share that with you. And so until you are, I'm not going to say able, first of all, is willing. There has to be a willingness to let go. You can work with someone who calls themselves a healer. You can do as many transmissions and so forth that you desire. But until you are actually stepping into those methods or technologies with the mindset that says, I am ready. I am ready to release this. I am ready to move forward. I surrender. Then it may or may not happen for you because there needs to be an opening. So I'm seeing that block that's coming from fear. So you're getting things are happening on the outskirts too, but you're not letting those changes take place. You're not letting that come in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that totally makes sense because I've already stated those things you said, like I'm ready to surrender, and I want to let go. And I think what you're talking about, I've known there's a block, but they say you block yourself, but I think it's letting go of a past relationship that's really messed me up.
Okay. Yeah, and that's not unusual at all. Yeah. So that would be something that I or someone else would, I would be happy to, but I or someone else that's qualified could help you to clear. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I might look at your website and maybe get a personal session. It would be
Please
wonderful.
No, thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're
For
welcome.
about things. Thank you. And I love your alchemical work and the way you do the symbols and bring all that together. It's lovely.
Thank you, dear one. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Jennifer. And thank you, Vox, for the guidance. And we have a feedback from Vivian, who asked the previous question. Yes, thank you. I will follow your divine advice. I appreciate your support. Much love. Beautiful. Yeah, so Vox, thank you very much for everything you shared with us today. It was quite a powerful and inspiring call. I really loved it, and also I loved the support and interaction you had with our audience. So thank you very much for everything.
Oh, you're very welcome, and thank you so much for inviting me to come. And thank you, everyone, for being here. And I'm so happy to be here to share with you. So have a beautiful day.
Beautiful. Thank you. And so everyone, thank you so much for being here with us today, sharing with us this space and time, your beautiful energies. Thank you for those who shared their questions and feedback. And again, I invite you to sign up for the program that Vox is offering to us. And the link again is yourdivineuniqueness.com/Vox, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Vox, VOX. Or you can click on the special offer button, which is on the live events page, later on the replay page. The link also on YouTube video description and the chat boxes. Irachi wrote, so beautiful, thank you. I received so much today. Natasha, thank you. Renee, all has resonated and helped my mind to heart connection. Thank you. So so with that, everyone, I'm sending you so much love, and then we see you on the next call. Bye for now.